A woman is petitioning the government to change its workplace laws after she was sent home without pay for refusing to wear high heels in the office. Nicola Thorp was employed by an agency to work as a receptionist at PwC's London office.
And as of a few moments ago, more than 46,000 people have signed up to Nicola's petition on the UK Parliament website. She told us more about what happened a little earlier.
I turned up on site as I normally would to a new job, and I was wearing my flat shoes, and they gave me the uniform that they expected me to wear that day, at which point the supervisor said that I wasn't allowed to go out and work that day because I was wearing flat shoes. She offered for me to go and buy a pair of heels from the shop, in which case they'd let me work, but I refused to on principle, therefore was sent home without pay. I turned and said, pointed to a male colleague who was stood next to me. I said, "He's wearing flat, smart shoes. You're not sending him home." I feel like this is a sex discrimination issue, and I was laughed at.
Well, high heels have also been at the centre of the diversity debate in the film industry. Organisations of the Cannes Film Festival were criticised last year after apparently banning women from wearing flat shoes on the red carpet.
And joining us from the French resort is Claire Binns, who's Director of Programming and Acquisitions at Picture House Cinemas. And here in the studio with us is Harini Iyengar, a barrister who specialises in discrimination and employment law. Harini Iyengar, let's just start with you. And the case of Nicola Thorp, is it legal for a company to insist that she wears high heels to work?
Well, it's lawful for a company to have a dress code, for example, to say to receptionists, we expect you to look smart. And it's also lawful for it to be different for men and women. So, for example, there was a case a couple of years ago about a man who said he didn't want to be made to wear a shirt and a tie because female colleagues weren't. And the fact of the matter is, in this country, we do have a lot of gender norms about what's normal dress for men, normal dress for women. And so at the moment, the law says it is OK for an employer to say, we've got different clothes for men and different clothes for women. And some things, are, in most cases, a biological difference. For example, you might have rules about facial hair, how long your beard could be, that just applies to men. And so in this case, there may be rules about shoes, for example, where it's lawful to have different rules for men and different rules for women. But in terms of whether or not this was lawful, I think it depends on the job. For example, if you're a dancer in a West End show, or if you're a model, looking pretty or even sexy might be part of what you're getting paid for. And in that case, it might be lawful for the employer to say, we require all our dancers to wear these high-heeled dance shoes. It seems,
you can't do your job if you're wearing a pair of flat shoes.
So what
couldn't that though apply to a receptionist, that you want a receptionist to look pretty?
That's the question, really. And we've not seen her job description, and I haven't seen, what shoes she had on or what shoes she was told to wear. But I think, in terms of a business environment, a lot of us struggle to see how wearing high-heeled shoes is relevant to being a receptionist.
And a lot of us would struggle to wear high heels for an entire
that's also very interesting. I think some of us, when we were younger, were more fans of high heels, and as you get a bit older and you listen to your podiatrist, you start to realise just how bad they are.
I mean, if I turned up wearing high heels, I'd probably get sent home.
But you see, you laugh at that, but actually,
and kicked out of home as well.
Yeah.
You laugh at that, but the laws change so much, and people's understanding has changed so much in terms of transgender status, and as transgender people acquire more rights, and we should be more tolerant to people. Then we look at these. Then looking at these gender-specific dress codes becomes more problematic.
Now, this is a petition asking the government to change the law. How could the law be changed, do you think?
Well, I don't really think that the law's at fault. I said in so many times, it's the way the law's being interpreted or handled. What I think is really interesting is that PwC, from what we know, has been clear to say, oh, it's not our dress code. It's the subcontractors, and they've said, oh, we're reviewing it. And I think the subcontractors now also said, oh, we're reviewing it. And my view is they may well review it and decide that it's no longer what it should be.